I saw all the signs for sale signs along 111 in Wyndham, and I went, oh my gosh, I love Wyndham.
Yeah.
I can sell Wyndham.
Yeah.
So literally next day, signed up for a course, took my test, passed it first time, and the rest has been history.
You know what I love about you, Donna? Everything that you've told me from our conversations to this conversation now is when you want to do something, you just do it, right? The next day you got on the licensing, you took the test, you passed it, right? And all the people that I know that are successful at anything, that's a big thing that they do. You take action. This was a really cool episode. I had on my friend Donna Mahoney. She's a local real estate agent, but she's doing something a little bit different. Donna wants to spread positivity, kindness, love, talk about all the good things that are going on right now. Listen to the episode, listen to Donna, learn about positivity, and get inspired. Enjoy the show. All right, here we are on another episode of The Mic Drop. I've got my friend Donna Mahoney on today. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Awesome. So Donna is a local real estate agent. Donna has been in the real estate industry for 22 years, you said?
22 years, yes.
And it probably feels like it was.
I hate saying it. It's like I feel so old when I say it, but
well,
yes.
You started when you were 8, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you know?
Thank you, Mike. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I think this past 22 years, right, is probably in real estate one of the most difficult, challenging, interesting times, right? We had the crazy boom of the early 2000s. You had the crash of 2008. Then it built back up. We had COVID with the rates down to 2%. Now they're at 7%. It's been all over the place.
It's been crazy.
You know?
We've seen it all.
I'm sure it's been pretty cool for you, too.
It has been. I mean, especially even just in how they did real estate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you used to have a book and you were the only person who knew all of the listings that, you know, were on the market. People had to come to you. The internet came. And, you know, when I was interviewing, it was kind of funny because my questions to the companies, the brokers that I was interviewing with was, do you have email? Do you have a website?
Do you have email?
Because a lot of them didn't.
Right.
So I went with the most innovative at that time, was the Marciello Group.
Yep.
And it changed everything in real estate. Suddenly, they were able to go online and see these homes, and they were able to call the offices. It was great because it was geared to your website brought those clients to you.
Right. It's funny. Nobody ever really talks about that, the fact that it's a completely different business, because before that, there was no internet, there was no email. I even remember for me, on my side, I started doing this in 2002 or 2002. And when I would take a mortgage application anytime, I would have to go to the client's house at night. I would fill out the application with a pen and piece of paper, go through everything. Then I'd have to go back to the office the next day, put it all in, see what we could do. Like the pre-approval then took a couple days, whereas now it takes 10 minutes.
Exactly.
You know, so the point is a lot has changed.
A lot has changed,
right?
And which has made it easier in a lot of aspects for us in our profession, but it's also made it harder.
Yep.
Because how do you create those relationships, you know, in a 10-second phone call or, you know, a text?
Yeah, it makes it harder to differentiate yourself.
Exactly. So you're always having to think outside the box, think of ways that you can serve better.
Yep.
Which is something that I love. I've always been kind of solve the problem. What's the issue? What are people facing? And then how can we make it better?
Yeah, and you've done a great job doing that.
Try.
So you were at Marciello for a bunch of years, Coke Worley for a bunch of years, and now you're at the DePietro Group in Wyndham.
Now I am home with the DePietro Group Real Estate in Wyndham, yes.
That's awesome.
I love it.
And you've got some awesome ideas that we're going to get into. But what I want to find out, I want to talk to you a little bit about you, like find out more about you, so people know who Donna is, where you grew up, what you've done in life, how many kids you have, right? Grandkids now.
Yep.
And how you got into real estate, right? Because it's funny, it seems like most people don't get into the mortgage business or the real estate business kind of like on purpose. It just kind of happens. So tell us where you grew up, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Well, I grew up in Lynn, Mass.
Yep.
Oldest of siblings of 4. I had a sister and 2 brothers.
Nice.
Modest family growing up. You know, we didn't have a lot.
Yep.
But I had a lot of aspirations. I actually wanted to be a DJ. So
nice.
This is, one of my...
DJ.
Were you a DJ?
Yeah. Ed was a wedding DJ.
In my high school yearbook, that's what I told everyone I was going to be.
That's awesome.
Well, my father and my uncle used to be promoters for record companies and deals.
No way.
Yep, my father represented Pat Benatar, ELO.
No way.
I've actually met a lot of those people. Also, Jethro Tull, people like that. It was kind of crazy. So we would get to go to concerts with them and meet the people.
Yeah.
Which is great because I really was outgoing. I got to be outgoing through my father and my mother. They really knew how to mingle with the public.
Yep.
And I wasn't afraid. So
That's
it took
great.
that fear away.
Were your parents musicians?
No, they were dancers, actually.
Wow,
Yep.
cool.
They met at an Arthur Murray studio back in the day.
Get out.
Yep.
That's awesome. I never knew this information. That's
Fell in
cool.
love. Yep. They taught dancing for a while. And then my father went into work with the record companies.
Yeah.
Promoting these artists. He would go to the record station, the radio stations, and help promote them, get them on the air. He'd win awards and he'd bring us to the concerts and we'd meet these people.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
that's awesome. So you wanted to be a DJ. How come you didn't end up being a DJ, or how'd that go?
Well, I ended up going to college and meeting the man, that is now the father of my 4 kids.
Nice.
We were married for 23 years. We're best friends.
Awesome.
So not married to him anymore, but we definitely have enjoyed life and watched our kids grow up and launched them and now have 3 kids. But part of the story that I have for how I got into real estate is I had finally gone back to work. My husband had said, if I wanted to stay home with the kids, let them grow up, that would be good for us. I was more than happy to do that. And honestly, it's some of the best years of my life. Being there for them then.
And where were you raising your family?
We lived in Malden, Mass at the time.
Yep.
In a 2-family.
Nice.
We owned it and had a great community. We really loved it. When I got pregnant with my 4th, started to get some trouble. Inner city kids were moving in, things were happening, and I decided I just didn't. I got scared. Didn't want to live there. Bringing up my kids, I wanted to move to a better place. And I talked to my mother. The solution, seeking that I told you about. We didn't have the money to move.
Right.
So I convinced my mother if she sold her house and we sold our house, we could end up buying a nicer house somewhere else, living together, raising the family in a better quality standard. She loved the idea because she was thinking about retiring soon, her and her husband. So we did just that. We found a wonderful place in Windham, New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
Moved in, had an in-law. And so that got us up to
So you went
the
from
area.
Malden to Windham.
To Windham.
That's a big difference.
It is a very big difference. When I went home, I had told Michael, I just saw the house. I saw it with my mom.
Yeah.
I said, you won't believe this house. It's beautiful. It's big. There's an in-law downstairs, and the yard is the size of our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Without the 40 houses.
Right.
So he was like, I'm not sure. I don't really want to move to New Hampshire. He was, one of those loyal Massachusetts.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yep. And we took him there. He took a walk on the land. There was a little brook in the back, and he was sold.
And that was it.
That was it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So how long ago was that? When did you move up here?
That was 26 years ago.
Wow.
26 years ago.
So 1997.
Yep.
Wow.
So home with the kids.
Yep.
We've got a new home, and I realized, I'd like to get back out there. The kids were back in school.
Yeah.
My youngest was now in kindergarten, and I actually modeled the kids.
Yeah.
They used to be on, packaging, or
Get
they did
outta here.
commercials, and we loved it.
Did they all do it?
They all did it. They've been on covers of magazines, and it was just for fun. Because back then, I didn't want to have them, the stigma that you can have, whether you're good enough or pretty enough, So we would make a big day out of the audition.
Yeah.
It was like, this was the job. We were going into Boston. We were going to go and say hello to people. They were going to introduce themselves. And then we were going to go to have some lunch into the Toy Story.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So they loved it. So I had that way of connecting, and I realized being top of mind, this was where it kind of started.
Your parents did too, what you were doing there. Yeah.
I started realizing if you were top of mind, they called you when they needed somebody who was 2 or 4 or
Right.
So I would send them, little notes. Thank you so much. Every time we went into Boston, I would stop in just to say hello.
Yep.
And they got more and more work. And I started seeing how this little pattern helped build the success for them.
Yeah.
I started actually getting asked for auditions, and I would be on set. And I saw, it's silly, but I saw the makeup artists who was talking with all the, actors and actresses. And I was like, I would love to do that. I feel at home in this space. So my big idea of going back to work was that I wanted to be a makeup artist. And
great.
Went off to Macy's,
Yep.
applied at Clinique,
Yep.
and told them, this was my dream. I wanted to, sell cosmetics, make people feel great, and go to work for them. They said, okay, well, we've got some questions. And, they asked me a few, and then they said, and this is what cracks me up, is they asked me, what, do you have any questions for us? And I said, when can I start?
Yeah. Yeah.
They were taken aback. I guess there was some channels you had to go through. But long story short, I got the job. And they put me, I was just part-time. They put me on Monday and Tuesday night at the mall. And I don't know if you guys have gone shopping on a Monday or Tuesday night.
No.
Crickets.
Yeah, nobody there?
Crickets. Now, this job was all based on, you got a little base pay, but you got commissions.
Right.
So I sat there at the counter and, I'd be cleaning and I'd be thinking, what could I do to get more customers, to show up to the counter? And I happened to open up a drawer and there was a box of lipsticks in there. And I asked the manager, what are these lipsticks for? And they said, we are part of the wedding registry. When a bride registers at the registry, she's told that she gets certain perks throughout the store. And one of them is that she gets a free lipstick here at the counter if she comes down to Clinique. So my brain started working. And all of a sudden I think, well, oh my God, how many brides are registering, for their showers here at the store? And what if I could get that list and call them up? I created a program where I called these brides. I had a script that I wrote.
Unbelievable.
I would call them, let them know that because they were, registered with Macy's, they had a free complimentary makeover that they could come down. I could go over all of their wedding colors. They could bring their whole bridal party, including mother of the bride, mother of the groom. Let's make a big party of it. We would have I would show them all the colors that worked best with them, and they would all receive a gift.
So that's how you got them all in.
So I started making phone calls. I started booking Mondays and Tuesdays. It wasn't long before suddenly a couple of quarters went by, and I'm just happy. I'm getting business. I'm not bored. The president of the company called me up to their office, and they said, "We want to know what you're doing." They said, your numbers are 400%. Our numbers on those nights are 400% more productive than they've been in years.
Get out.
And we were on track for the first time that counter, Clinique, was on track for the first time ever to be the number one counter in that store. And they attributed it to the program that I had set up.
Yeah.
So they asked me to go down. I trained all of their regional managers all across Massachusetts.
Get out.
They brought me down to the South Shore. They started asking me to train their, I'm calling them agents, but their sales associates on what the program I was. I had my scripts that I taught them. I showed them. I got on the phones, made phone calls. We had call nights. And we started having weekend bridal workshops. And all of the counter was now doing it, not just me. And that year, they ended up being number one.
It's unbelievable. And all because you were sitting there and you said, how can I get people here, right?
How can I solve a problem?
Right.
There's a problem to solve. I found a lipstick and created a huge program. The beauty of that was, they were calling me at home. It was like I was a manager.
Right.
But I was literally just a little sales clerk earning like $9.50 an hour. And I was doing my taxes that year, and I was looking at it, and I saw that I had made like $12,000. It was a part-time job.
Right.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm acting like I own this business. I've created a whole new program, and I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. Mm-hmm. So suddenly I realized I could do this anywhere.
Right. Selling anything.
Selling anything. And I was riding home from work one night, and I saw all the signs for sale signs along 111 in Wyndham, and I went, oh my gosh, I love Wyndham.
Yeah.
I can sell Wyndham.
Yeah.
So literally next day, signed up for a course, took my test, passed it first time, and the rest has been history.
You know what I love about you, Donna? Everything that you've told me from our conversations to this conversation now is when you want to do something, you just do it, right? The next day you got on the licensing, you took the test, you passed it, right? And all the people that I know that are successful at anything, that's a big thing that they do. You take action. You can't just sit and talk about something or think about it and overplan it. We got to do, So your idea that we're going to talk about in a little bit, we just talked about this, 5-6 days ago, and I was like, well, let's do the podcast and start working on it. And here we are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's impressive. I think that's a really good quality to have.
It is, but it's sometimes you sit there and you can say, she just has it. She just does it.
Yeah.
Trust me, there have been many plans that I have thought about. This one that we're going to talk about, I've been percolating for 3 or 4 years, and just not really knowing what's the next step.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't know what the next step is.
Yeah.
But it's when you figure it out, or if you find somebody who knows it as well, it's ask for help and then go do it, because it takes that step, that next step, to see it to fruition.
That's right. What I find sometimes, this is what I always do. And I think it's just because I don't overplan anything, right? If I want to do something, even if I don't know what that next step is, I just take a step, right? I'm like, I'm going to start something, right? And then usually as you keep going, you figure it out a little bit more and a little bit more, make adjustments, change, and just improve. But just kind of going is what I like. And I think that's what you've done too. So tell me about, so you passed the test.
Passed the
and then
test.
How does it start? How does the real estate, and what year is this now?
This is in 2000.
All right, so this is 2000.
I take
When
the
you first
test. I pass. I do cartwheels all over the house.
Yep.
I'm all excited. And now I start making some calls, some people that I know in real estate, and who should I interview with. And in Wyndham at the time, there was 3 big companies, and I definitely wanted to work for one of them.
Yep.
And I went to Century 21. I forget, it was maybe Northeast, or I can't ever remember it. It was over where the butcher shop is now.
That's right. And they went back in there after.
They did. They
did.
did.
That was Northeast.
Yep.
Yep.
I went over there, interviewed with them, nice group. But they, believe it or not, when I asked that question about email, they had just one company email. Each agent wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And I foresaw that was going to be important. So I didn't want to go with them. I knocked on Prudential's door.
Yep.
It was Dinsmore.
Yep.
They wouldn't talk to me.
Really?
Wouldn't answer. They were, nope, we don't hire, new agents.
Yep.
We're only experienced, blah, blah, blah. And I tried everything I could to get in the door, and they said no. So I walked over to, my mother actually had needed a notary and had gone down to the Marciello group.
Yep.
And they were very kind. They were nice. They helped her. So she had said, you should go down there, Donna. They were really nice. So I walked in, and there was the front desk, and there was somebody standing there at the desk, talking to the admin. And I asked for Nancy Casagrande at the time. And I said, that I had just passed my test. My mother had just been in here, and she had said how nice everybody was, and that I needed to talk to them. So Nancy happened to be the person who was standing right there at the desk. And she goes, I'm Nancy Casagrande. And I said, I really would love to talk to you. I've just passed the test. I want to go to work for the best. I'm excited. So she brought me in to the room, and she let me know right off the bat that they did not hire new agents.
Yeah.
She says, we only hire experience. I think the average person at that time was had 15 years in the business. They were doing, $4 to $8 million worth of production. And this is when houses were selling at, $150,000.
Right.
And I looked right at her and I said, if you hire me, I promise you won't regret it. So I've learned something from that. When you have enough confidence with, and at least in your ability that you're going to do a good job for somebody, they hear it.
Yeah, and you got to tell them.
Yeah, you have to tell them. Exactly. So it might sound like I was being conceited, but I wasn't.
I don't think so. You're confident.
It wasn't even that I was confident. I wanted them to know. Right. I was going to work hard for them.
Right.
If you do, I promise you will not regret it.
Yeah.
So she said she would talk about it. She'd let me know by that Friday. So like I said, learning with the kids, top of mind. I sent a thank you note. Couple of days down the road, I sent an email looking forward to hearing from you. And that Friday, she called me in and said for the first time ever, they were going to hire a new agent and take a chance on me.
Wow.
I ended up being their Rookie of the Year. I did $4.2 million
Awesome.
in production. And from there on in was always top 10%.
That's incredible.
In the
And
company.
one thing that like the 4.2 million, that was like you said,
22 years ago.
yeah, 22 years ago. Average sale price in there was probably like 200,000.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That was before Wyndham turned into Wyndham.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That was when it was a small town where there was really nothing. You know, Eddie knows that's where he grew up. You know what I mean? Was that before McDonald's or after McDonald's?
Before.
That was pre-McDonald's.
Yeah, that was Clown's Bakery.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That was when the roads were completely different up that end. You know, 111 didn't go where it is now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was a completely different town.
Yep.
And average sale price was probably in the low twos. Maybe even
No,
maybe even
when
once.
I sold, I remember the day when I closed on my first closing that was over 200,000.
Really?
That was like, woohoo, big success. So that shows you how different the market is now.
So in year one, when you were Rookie of the Year and you closed 4.2 million, do you happen to know how many units that was? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I think it was like 18, 19 houses.
That's incredible.
And I started in May.
So that was in 6 months?
That was in 7 months.
7 months? Yeah.
I started in
How were you
May.
in business then when you were brand new?
Well, like I said, it was different then.
Right.
I would take the uptime. The phones were ringing, but like I said, I made sure it was important that I had somewhere that offered websites.
Yep.
I created my own website. I contacted like Realtor.com. I had newsletters, and I just was making that blast and being top of mind with everybody I knew.
Awesome.
And I let them know that, I'm new in the business, but I am surrounded by the best, in the industry.
Yeah.
And if I don't have the answer, I will get it for you.
Wow.
And it just
It worked.
I remember like a couple of years later, they had always told me you have the spring market. The spring market came, then the summer market came, and then it was like that fall. It was around November, and I said, "When does it slow down?"
Yeah.
And it hadn't.
It hadn't.
Which was great.
Well, it probably hadn't for you because you were putting in the work.
Right.
Yeah,
it was great. It was
can
fun.
People can always make an excuse that, the market's doing this, the market's doing that. But if you look at the amount of business that's happening at any time, like right now it's slow, right? It's slow because there's not a lot of inventory. Right. But there's still hundreds, if not thousands of transactions closing
all the
every
time.
single month.
It's about finding those
how
listings.
are you going to get them?
Yeah. Being that person.
And you were figuring it out.
Well, exactly. Staying top of mind, but letting them know that you're going to take care of them. You've got their back.
Yep.
When I go to work for a client, I have their best interest at heart.
As you should.
Absolutely.
Right.
As you should, but we know in this industry that's not what happens all the time.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying as you should. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's not, you're not selling your house. You're not buying your house. You're helping somebody with the biggest personal asset or investment of their life.
Exactly.
It's a big deal. I was teaching a class this morning. We were talking about that. It's like the agents that do really well, it's because they really care about their clients and connect with them. You know what I mean? I also think that's the same in any business.
Absolutely.
Right? In any business, but especially on a business where you're dealing with someone's personal life. Like same for us.
Right.
Right? When we take the time and really listen to the client, listen to their needs, financially what's going to be good for them so we can point them in the right direction, that's when you have a client for life.
Absolutely.
All right. So you were at Masiello for how long?
Oh, gosh, it was like 10, 11 years.
Wow.
10, 11 years, market crash came, some personal, I was going through my divorce,
Sure.
things were changing. And somebody approached me who was in a relocation company and said that, we've seen what you've done. You've sold a couple of the houses that we, were managing. We'd love to interview you.
Yeah.
So just kind of out of the blue, I hadn't really even thought about getting out of real estate.
Yeah.
I got offered a position that offered me a full-time salary, benefits, vacations, and security during that scary time.
Right.
So I took it.
What year was that?
That was in 2008.
Okay. Oh, that was
So
2008.
that was in the midst
in the middle of it.
Yeah. That was
Yep.
in the midst of all the chaos.
So was that? So you went to work for the Relo company? That wasn't when you were over at Coca-Cola, was it?
No.
So a separate relocation.
So I got
company.
into corporate relocation.
Yep,
It was a
okay.
management company called MSI out of Hampton.
Yep.
And then from there, I graduated and got a promotion to another company, Weikert, out
Nice.
of
Yeah, I
New
know
Jersey.
Weikert. Yep.
And worked with them for quite a while. I loved the business. It was definitely helping people. One of the scariest things is when you're moving from a place you know and love
Absolutely.
to a location where you know nothing about.
Yep.
It's really important who you end up working with. So we would put together teams of people that they could depend on, helping them to sell their house where they were living,
Yep.
helping them to move all of their household goods and belongings to the new area, helping them with a agent who is going to help them purchase the home there, somebody that they could trust
Yep.
that would do the right thing. So we put all these pieces in place and made sure that all of those pieces were working at all times for those families.
So you kind of quarterbacked the whole thing almost?
Exactly.
Okay.
Contracted, made sure everybody was doing their part, checked in on everybody, and made sure that, like I said, during this time, especially, it might not be a move that they wanted.
Right.
So helping them to get through that tough time, that tough transition, and make it as smooth as possible.
So, I mean, that's awesome. So would you be working with like big corporations? Is that how that works? The Relo companies work with the big corporations so that when, people are getting transferred or whatever, you kind of...
Exactly. Companies like Raytheon,
Sure.
Coca-Cola, Black & Decker, they would want to move their employees, but they're not in the business of real estate and moving companies and temporary housing.
Yeah.
So they would have these relocation management companies. They would send their employees to that relocation management company for counseling. It was kind of like a counseling.
Yeah.
There would be benefits that they'd receive. There would be expenses that would get paid, and the counselor would help manage all of that. And we were there from start
Never
to
knew
finish.
it worked like that. Yeah.
And it's a
Interesting.
big industry. It costs a lot of money. On average, I think the average cost right now to move and relocate an employee is over $100,000.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow.
They're paying for commissions. It depends on what levels you're at and what benefits they're providing.
Yeah.
But yes, it can be up well over $100,000.
Wow. So it's costly.
It's costly.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that you're dealing with the right agents who know the procedures. Otherwise, you could jeopardize all those benefits for them. So it's tricky.
There's a lot of weight on that.
There is.
Yeah. So how long did you do that for?
I did that for 5 years.
Yep.
And I loved it.
Yeah. And how come you moved out of that business?
Well, it's interesting because when I was working with Masiello, I had been one of their relocation trained specialist agents who handled those employees when they
Right. So
came
you're on
in.
the other side of it.
Exactly. I knew the policies, procedures, made sure we didn't, jeopardize their benefits and get the job done as smooth as possible. And I knew the trainings that we had gone through and what was expected of us. Well, when I was in the role of the relocation counselor and I was assigning it to these agents, I saw how the lack of training in so many of these agents, I saw literally tens of thousands of dollars lost on those employees' behalf
Not good.
because they were working with the wrong agent
Right.
who didn't do the right job. And, many times I was able to step in and make sure that more money wasn't lost. But it was horrible what I was seeing. And I realized there was an issue. There was a problem there.
Yeah.
And my way of solving it was I thought, I want to become an agent again because I want to be able to get out there and make sure that they get the right service.
Yeah.
So I was here in Wyndham. I left my position and I met up with Shannon actually.
Oh, get out of
She
here.
was at Coca-Cola. And I had worked with her husband, Rocco.
Yeah.
He was a builder at Masiello. So I was like, I love Rocco's, construction. I could sell that again. I'd love to work for these guys. So we talked, fell in love with her, and I went to work for Coca-Cola.
So that was when Shannon was at Coca-Cola. Was that when the office was over above Heavenly, or was that?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Above Heavenly. And we were working there. I was a full-time agent. My plan was to get in touch with the relocation companies and be a relocation specialist.
Awesome.
Let them give me their employees who needed help. In the meantime, unbeknownst to me, Shannon, partner owner with Coca-Cola, was talking with Linda and Blaze, and they needed a relocation director. They had one who was there now, but she was going into a different role.
Okay.
So it was available. They had made an offer to somebody else. And I never even knew this role was open. I happened to come up with a sale, just one day, kind of unbeknownst to me. They're having a big meeting, and Shannon spies me at the desk. Suddenly, Shannon's energy.
Yeah.
She flies open the door. She goes, Donna, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. You've got to come in.
It's exactly how you do it, too.
Exactly. And I have no idea what she's going to, what they're talking about. We go in and she tells them, she's like, Donna's in relocation. She's worked with these people. She would be fabulous. She's in sales. She works with the employees and she's been the counselor. We need to offer her the position.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're talking
Yeah, you're like,
about.
what do you even mean?
Happening? I just made a sale. I was like,
Yeah.
So they're now, I can see they're kind of scared because like, we've already offered it to somebody. And
Yeah.
Shannon's like, take it back.
Tell him no.
Give it to her. And they're looking at me like, well, would you be interested?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, tell me more, and they're giving me some of the details. And I always get this feeling when something's a good idea. I don't know how, I've got follow my gut.
Yeah.
Follow your gut.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I started getting this feeling and I'm like, listen to what's going on here. Something is happening. And they told me about the position. I started getting excited and they said, well, we've already made an offer. It was Friday.
Yep.
We're going to give it the weekend. She's supposed to be getting back to us on Monday. If she doesn't want this and doesn't accept it, would you be interested?
Right.
And I went, absolutely.
Just like that.
And, you don't forget these moments.
No.
I walked out of the office and it was kind of like, what just happened? But as I walked down those stairs, I thought, this is going to be big. I didn't even know, you know what I mean? Didn't even know. So because I'd had the background, I called all these agents that were, all these brokers that I had already been dealing with while I worked at Weichert.
Yeah, you already had the connections.
I had those connections. And I called them and I said, what is it, what's leading real estate companies of the world? I hear that, my company, Coca Worley's members of it, and they want me to be a relocation director. And all of them were like, oh my gosh, that, you need to take this job. They have the Porsche, they just don't have the driver.
Right.
You get in there, Donna, you're going to be able to do some amazing things.
Incredible.
So guess what? Monday came and the woman didn't accept.
Perfect.
So they said, bring us your proposal, come in with it. I brought in, like I said, I had talked to everybody, found out what type of business could be expected.
So you did all that from Friday to Monday?
Friday to Monday.
Yeah.
Put it all together, did my research, came back with a plan, and told them what I would be able to do if they hired me.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of like a Macy's all over again.
Yeah.
I went to work, and by the end of the year before they had closed, I forget, it was like maybe 9 outgoing closed,
not a lot.
20 incoming. That next year that I was, and again, I had started in May.
Yep.
And finished by December. We had done, I think, 31
That's
for the first year. 31 brought in over $150,000, where the previous year they had only been around 75. I continued to every year escalate that. By my 5th or 6th year in the business, we were bringing in, generating about $500,000 worth of commissions for the company.
And so that was what, over like a 5-6 year period?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you just...
And then maintained that type of business.
Yeah. But now recently you transitioned out of that role, going back to being, just a full-time agent yourself.
Exactly.
With the DePietro Group.
Again.
You super excited about it?
I am so excited.
Yeah.
But we have some actually exciting news.
Yeah.
Because we're, the company that I was working for merged with another company.
Yeah.
They were no longer an independent broker.
Right.
So they could not be a leading real estate companies of the world. They could not be a leading RE member. So that opened up a spot here in this vicinity.
Yeah.
So I did my research again, made some calls immediately, and discovered that Shannon would be qualified as the DePietro Group to become a leading RE member. Got her in contact with them, and we just received word that she's been accepted.
Nice.
And the whole team, we're going to be
super exciting.
Leading real estate company of the world network.
And now you already have all that experience,
connections,
all the expertise, all the connections, and now you can just bring all that business in where you are now.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep.
Really cool, Donna. How you've
I'm
gotten,
excited.
Yeah, really cool how you've gotten, from when you went from the Macy's counter to here, right? And what I think is neat about the real estate journey is your thing is relocation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're on this side of it and that side of it and this side of it. Now you're back on this side. And now you can teach all the agents at the DePietro Group
Exactly.
how to kind of work with these clients and make sure they're served well and nobody loses money.
Right.
And have fun doing it.
Yep. Well, that was the biggest part too, is when I was going to do it alone. I did it because when I first was going to be an agent,
Yeah.
I was doing it because I wanted to be able to provide that better service. But I was one person.
Right.
When they offered me the relocation director job, I realized, oh my gosh, they have 200 agents, 200 plus. I can teach all of those agents to be that type of a service provider to those employees. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
Now I was able to multiply myself by
That's
a
incredible.
couple hundred.
Right.
So I'm
That's
going to do that again.
Yeah. How many agents are at the Peter Group? About 15?
We have, I think it's 18 now.
18?
Yep.
So now you can teach them all.
Teach them all.
And spread your wealth and knowledge to these guys. That's exciting.
Well, and these guys are the top of the top as well.
Right.
And I've already let my partners know in leading RE that, not only can we cover Massachusetts and New Hampshire, but I've got the relocation specialists that I had already trained in place, ready to go. So they're all excited to work with us again. Yeah.
Super exciting. So let's talk about so I met with Donna last week and we were talking about her getting back into the business and how she can, grow, how you can grow your real estate business, right? And I really liked what Donna said to me. She said, we started talking about that and she's like, you know what? I have a different idea because I want you to explain it, but I have something a little bit different just so people, I can get back out into the community and highlight some of the good things that are going on around here. So why don't you tell everyone about your idea? Because I definitely want to be a part of it and help you grow it because I think it's awesome, especially since this world right now, probably more so than ever, needs some positivity.
Absolutely.
Right? Some uplifting stories. So tell us your idea.
All right. Well, it started back in when COVID hit.
Yep.
We were being bombarded with bad news. You couldn't turn on the TV without being honestly fearful for your life. We were all having to stay home. Things were shutting down. And John Krasinski, do you know him from The Office?
Yeah.
He did this program called Good News.
Yep.
And I guess it had started from, he was just so tired of all the bad news that he was hearing every day. He made a plea out on Facebook. Please send me your good news. Let's highlight some of the good things that are happening.
Yeah, that's great.
Because too much is going on in the world. Everyone's so focused on the bad. Let's put some light on the good. And I loved it. Every day I tuned in. It was like I didn't
even know about that.
I needed to hear the good news, and I'm so grateful that I saw it. And it had reminded me, I've always been kind of the person who I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
People make fun of me. Oh, you don't know what's going on. It's like, I always know what I need to know.
Right.
But I don't need to know that 24/7.
Yeah, I have to stop watching the news. So it's like, and I like that you say that, right? Like, what I should watch is like, Bloomberg because I like the financial stuff and for my business, right? I like that. Every morning I get up and I put on the news and me and Nicole will sit there and watch the news and drink our coffee. And I'm like, this is so depressing. I'm like, all this bad stuff that's happening. You know what I mean? Like,
how do you be the best version?
I'm changing tomorrow and I'm not watching the news.
Exactly. How can you get up and when you think about it, take all that bad stuff in, how can you become the best version of yourself for the day?
You can't, brings you down right off the bat.
Exactly. And they have said that, I believe the statistics, and I'll get them wrong, but it's somewhere like 80% will have a bad day if they watch the news.
I mean, I'm in the 20 though because I have a lot of good days and I watch the news.
You do have a lot of good days.
But I'm going to change it. Maybe it can increase my good days.
It can definitely increase. So I started watching some of this good news, and as I was listening to some of these top motivational speakers, they always talk about that morning routine. It's so vital. You need to protect yourself and fill yourself with positive things.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about what if we had good news?
Yeah.
What if we could report good news? Nobody ever shines a light what's going good in the area.
Yeah.
And there was friends of, I know you know them, and I forget their name still.
Katie and Pete Bamberg.
Yes, thank you. I was at work one day, and Katie had stopped by Her husband had been diagnosed with cancer and was going through a really tough time.
Yep.
And it was his birthday.
Yep.
And she had put a flyer together that had said, asking people to do random acts of kindness.
Incredible.
For Pete's sake.
Yeah.
And
for Pete's sake.
Loved that. I loved it. We jumped right on board. We were like all about it. We wanted to do some good. So we gathered together. We made a bunch of baskets, and we had some different places that we were going to go. We would go to the fire department, the police department, and we were going to the assisted living down near the Common.
Yeah.
And that's where I ended up that day. I brought a basket of goodies. There was donuts and treats, and I walked in with one of my other colleagues, and you should have seen the light on their faces. And we told them why we were doing it. It was for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
We had the flyer, and they were just thrilled. You could see the joy in their eyes that somebody had thought of them, was trying to do an act of kindness, and that they were enjoying it for Pete's sake.
Yeah. Great job, Katie, by the way.
Honest to God.
Awesome.
Well, she inspired me. And, here's kind of the premise behind my idea is she has no idea the different ripples that she has affected other people.
Yeah.
Because that day, I went home and I sat there and it still makes me emotional. The goodness she inspired that day for her husband, the love of her husband and her family, and wanting to shed some goodness during a difficult time. And I thought, people need to hear this. People need to hear more good news like this. Right. And I called WMUR.
Yeah.
It still makes me choked up. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I just thought, I don't know if they'll even play it because let's face it, a lot of times it's bad news sells.
Yeah.
So I called them. They were very interested in hearing more of the details. I gave them all the players' names, Katie's name and how we'd heard about it. And 1 or 2 days later, my manager called and said, "You're not going to believe it. Katie's on the news." And the whole family was sitting there live on the TV. And I don't know if maybe other people had called too. I'm not sure. But I watched it and I said, people need to hear more stories like this.
Yeah.
We need to bring this to others, inspire them to not only do good, but I was thinking about, how many people have done something for me. Yeah. That I've appreciated or has made such a big impact on my life that I maybe never let them know that.
Right.
I write it in my gratitude journal. I maybe tell other people about it. But how often have I told them?
Yeah. And sometimes it can be little things that people do.
Tiny
You know what I mean? And even with, Katie and Pete, and I see all the time, because I used to go to the gym with them. They still are active CrossFitters. I am no longer.
You're not.
I've retired. If you can't tell, my old body has retired from CrossFit. But the positivity I think is probably played a big role in Pete's recovery, and I see his clean scans on when she'll make posts on Facebook and Instagram, and I know other people that have battled illnesses too. And the positivity, it really, really helps. You know what I mean? It's like you're bringing things, you're making things happen with your mind, right? And you can do it in a negative way or in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And that positivity is a really big deal, and it changes people's lives.
It does.
You know what I mean? It does. So I think your idea of highlighting when people are doing positive things, especially when they're doing them not for the recognition, like we talked about the other day.
Right.
It's like you're doing it just to do the right thing.
Well, like I'd asked you, and not to put anybody, down, but I was like, who's the real hero in that story?
Yeah.
And you were like, Pete.
Yeah.
And I get it because exactly
Right.
Pete went through a struggle and he was the one who had to be strong and go through it. But for me, I saw the hero as Katie.
Yeah.
She wanted to make sure that the good news was what they focused on.
Yeah.
And that
right.
I'm sure she was scared.
Yeah, sure.
So she was my hero. She inspired me.
Have you ever talked with her about
this? I
this?
haven't. I'd love to. She's one of the first people I'd love to sit down and talk with.
Yeah.
But what it got me thinking, and we probably can't do it for Katie now because we kind of spilled beans. But
that's all right. Yeah, we can.
I was thinking, I'd love for other people to tell their stories.
Yeah.
they have that hero. There's hero amongst us right here in our towns, our local communities that we know nothing about. Nobody knows the goodness that they do.
No.
And I think it's about time. The impact they make, or the ripples that it extends to. What if we could get people to tell us their stories?
All right. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to ask the people watching, listening, right, to go to you and tell you any stories they have of somebody being thoughtful, caring, kind, compassionate, helpful, all the good things that people are doing on a daily basis. Come tell Donna those stories, because we want to highlight those people, because the world needs to hear more about it.
Absolutely. I mean, we want to shine a light on the heroes in our lives. It can be, who has been that hero for you? Who has done something even just little, that maybe a hug that, got you in a better mood, that helped you to nail that project that you were doing and made a difference. It can be just a smile, or it can be something very, very big that has changed your life in a big way. And maybe you haven't been able to tell that person how much it meant to you. Maybe you think about it all the time. In my gratitude journal, I'm always writing who I'm thankful to. And I've had a couple of people this past year who have passed away.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I realized they were great people. And my biggest regret was that I didn't tell them how big an impact they had made on me.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to always tell people that. You know what I mean? Always. If somebody's helping you, if somebody's making you feel good, you let them know.
So that's why I want to help people do that.
Yeah.
I've decided, if you can tell me your stories, let me know who that hero was. We want to put together a program where maybe, it's like a caught you being good. Maybe you gather that person together, you call them in, and then we want you to tell them on live camera what an impact they made on you, how grateful you are. And then we are, through the community, going to be able to give them some reward that pays them back for that little bit of goodness that they've shown on you. We're going to reflect that light back on them.
How positive is that?
Right?
I love it.
I'd love to watch it. Yeah. I don't know. I think you would.
I'll watch it in the morning when I drink my coffee instead of watching the news.
Give them something different to look at.
When you told me that idea, I was like, I love it. And it was funny because we were sitting down for lunch and I didn't know that was, like, I had no idea what your idea was. And when you told me, I'm like, that's brilliant. You know what I mean? Because it's just a nice thing to do.
Absolutely.
And it's making a point to do something nice. You're just going out of your way to bring positivity to the world and our community, not looking for anything in return.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No, and I just think it's needed.
I think it's awesome.
It's a problem we're facing, ever since COVID. They're saying, especially the teens, they're seeing so much negativity on the news. Everywhere you look, there's conflict. I want to show them that this community has goodness all around them. There is good and hope and wellness, right in their midst. And I want to put a focus and shine that light on it.
I think it's absolutely beautiful.
They can have something to be happy about and proud of.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. So the first thing we need, people out there, is for you to reach out to Donna. So Donna, how can people get in touch with you? Let's talk about that.
They can either, they can see me on Instagram. They can DM me there at, it's Donna M2214.
Yeah.
Or they can call me at 603-548-5487. Or you can even find me on Facebook, Donna Mastrocola Mahoney, or Donna Mahoney Realtor.
Okay,
there's a few places.
Or get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with
Absolutely.
Donna. So what we're going to do, world, right, everybody watching, is we're going to promote the heck out of this. We're going to have it on Facebook, Instagram, and make a point that you people are going to find Donna and tell you positive stories. Don't let time go by without taking advantage of the opportunity to tell somebody that they did something that helped you.
Exactly. Well, this is a community story.
Yep.
We're going to, I'm looking at, for, a woman, maybe, giving her a spa day, for maybe some golf, a golf day, or we want to give back,
Yep.
and we want to give back for you. You know, you received that gift. You want to say thank you to that person. We're going to make it worth your while. You know, we want to hear your story. We want to share your
Yep.
good news, and then we want to make them feel good too.
Absolutely.
Let's
I'll give
make
the
them
first
feel good.
person a mortgage.
There you go.
But I think it's great. And I'm super excited to work with you on this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be emotional, but in a good way, right?
I'm open.
Seeing happy, positive things all the time. So let's get going. So
yeah, we can't do it without you. So
Nope.
please give us a call. We
need
want to
you
hear your
people out
stories.
there, you know? So please get in touch with Donna. Donna, I loved your story because I've known you for years, and we've never really talked about, you know, how you grew up and how you did everything you did. But your positivity and your happiness and your energy is wonderful. So I'm looking forward to seeing you do really well in the business now that you're back in it full time and doing your thing. And, you know, with the DePietro Group,
Yes.
you're with great people. As you know, Shannon's a good friend of mine. And so I think you two together are going to do absolutely awesome.
Oh, I'm looking forward to
So-
it. And I'm grateful for, you know, our partnership in this.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I wouldn't have made that next step if it hadn't been for you. So I'm very grateful. And
No,
thank
of
you
course.
for bringing me on today.
No, again, I love helping people do things because I think it's exciting, you know, and that's anything, whether it's this or it's, you know, buying a house or working on a project or whatever. So, and if anyone needs any help with anything, call me too, because I love doing stuff. So this is awesome, Donna.
Thank
you
you
for coming on. Again, reach out to us and let's spread some good.
I would love it.
All right. Thank you,
Awesome.
Donna.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.